Hello, welcome to the Reality Vomit Podcast, an extension of the Vomit series of podcasts. As always, I'm your host, Mac Taylor, and today we're going to talk about some more Big Brother Canada 9, episode 12, the Monday edition of the episode. I'm getting caught up on all my stuff. I'm feeling good, recovering from that time I had to take off for other things that, pulled me away from my upload schedule, which I am now firmly back on. Starting next week. So this week was kind of my catch-up week. Next week, we're getting back on that official business. And starting next week, I will explain to you what the exact uploading schedule is for the time being. So we're going to start with the Monday episode here. We're going to talk about the episode proper, and then we're going to get into some spoilery section-y talk there at the end. Talk about some things going on in the feeds. Without further ado, let's talk about Big Brother Canada 9. So we get a lot of build-up for this Invisible HOH. It had a very cinematic opening with like an invisible person walking around and the logos in translucent. It was interesting. I enjoy it. Big Brother Canada puts a lot more into their editing than I think the U.S. does. And really, going into this HOH, Tara and Tina could really benefit from it. Because they've been kind of playing the middle. And if they are anonymous, they can take a shot at like Ty and Jed or Austin and Bray, and no one will know they did it, right? So they can kind of make a move and, kind of slide by into next week if they don't get found out. So we get this like rock counting HOH where like these rocks are on a conveyor falling in this pit, and you have to count them as they come onto the conveyor, and the one closest, I'm assuming without going over at the end, would become the new HOH. Beth really everyone really wants it. It's hard to say someone goes into this HOH being like, yeah, I don't need this, right? But the throuple is really concerned because there's not a whole lot of people in the game right now that won't target the throuple, right? And it's not the most captivating competition to watch because it's just people counting rocks, right? It's not like, that's why we have to have a lot of these confessional segments of like, I need this, I'm gonna gun for this, I got this, because we just don't want to watch people counting rocks. So as far as like competition entertainment, this is not grade A material. But, the idea of the Invisible HOH is fun. So they try to tempt them with the feast. And it's like, these people are giving up a huge power for food. Like if you're gonna tempt somebody, you need something a little more. Then they tempt them with the slot pass. Tara and Vic turn around for it, but Tara turns back around first. Almost immediately. It was like no point in turning around at all if you're just going to turn around like 0.4 seconds later. So Vic gets a slot pass and still, heads toward the HOH. And Tina, she's notified that she's the furthest from the number. So she takes a letter from home and kind of, gives up the competition, which I think the person who got the slot pass should have also had to bow out. Like, what's the whole point of the temptation if you could still, like, win the HOH and the you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to take the temptation, then lose the HOH. There shouldn't have been a way to do both. Because Tina didn't get to do both. Right before the time runs out, Tara's like, my lucky number's 11. So she does 11 extra clicks than what she had originally counted. So she and Vic actually end up tying for the HOH. They had the exact same number because of the lucky number 11. That was kind of cool. Good on Tara there. Her lucky. At first, I was like, lucky number 11. That's kind of stupid, but it put her right there in contention. So who am I to say that it was dumb, it worked. So basically, the tiebreaker is how long the challenge was in minutes. The correct answer was 42. Vic had answered 41, and Tara had answered 51. So Vic is the new HOH. We got an invisible, spicy HOH. You can't see the heat radiating off that thing. And Vic thinks she's killing it this season. Like, she thinks she's the greatest person to play this game. And she's a great character. I think she'll be remembered for a while in this game. But not for her strategy, not for gameplay. Like, she's actually bad. She'll be remembered for bad gameplay. So, everyone's sweating going up. Because this is HO. You can't really prepare. You can't do the work. Because by the time you figure out the HOH, they've probably already made their nominees. And it's hard to campaign when you don't necessarily know who exactly to campaign to. So it is a really hard week to navigate because you don't know who got it. All you know is that you did or didn't get it. And then you have to like sweat. If you're talking to someone, are they the HOH and are we having a good conversation? It's a lot. It's a lot going on. So Tara and Tina want to take a shot at the throuple. So they're kind of encouraging everyone to take a shot at throuple, not knowing that Vic is the HOH. And they actually think Bray got it. And Bray would probably put up Ty and Jet. But Bray did not get it. Vic did. And we all know Vic took out LaToya just to get closer to Ty and Jet. So she's not going to put Ty and Jet on the block. And she's doing her normal shtick. Vic is doing her normal shtick in the bedroom. Where like she gets in her alone and she's dancing and she's like, best ever play the game. And again, I appreciate the confidence from her. But it's a lot of false confidence. She is very, very sloppy. You could have changed it to Sloppy V. And I would agree. So others suspect Ty or Vic. So Vic's name is kind of being brought up into the fray on the episode. We'll talk about the feeds, just how much people are talking about Vic. But the episode would try to get you to believe that maybe Vic is, like, it's a little more up in the air than, but yeah, people know who the HOH is. So Tina tells Vic and Tara she got the letter on Kiefer. And Tara tells them that she didn't get the HOH, but she was close. Like, she was in the tiebreaker. So it kind of rules out. So Vic at least knows who she was competing with there at the end. So Vic ends up telling Keith. Like, she kind of winks, and he's like, you got it? She's like, no, I didn't get it. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, I got it. He's like, really? You got it? She's like, no, I didn't get it. And he's like, fuck with me. Like, you got it? She's like, yeah, I got it. And then she gets her Wendy's in secret, which I'm like, I don't like this either. Like, the person doesn't get to go in the HOH bedroom, doesn't get, like, the perks, so they shouldn't get the Wendy's either. Like, we don't want them to have any of the HOH besides. If you're doing it, if you get to have the benefit of an anonymous HOH, you should get nothing else. But she gets a video from her best friend. And she really knows how to ham it up. That's the thing about Vic. This is where she shines. She's a good television character. She's not a good game player, but she's good at getting on TV. Because, like, she's eating the chicken sandwich, and she's like, they never see it coming. And she, like, turns and then bites, like, into the camera. She knows what she's doing. She knows how to ham it up in the best way possible. I mean that in the best way possible. I'm not against Vic. I'm not saying she's, like, a bad attention hog or anything. No, she's doing what she should do. She's on a television show, and she's trying to be captivating television. And we also see that Ro's been hanging with Thruple, trying to kind of ingratiate himself with them, like a you can't beat him, join him kind of situation. And Rose still thinks Ty is the HOH, which, not the case, but also you're not in trouble, Ro. Like, Ro, this is a great week for Ro. He can just lay low, hang out with the throuple, mend fences. Kyle's gone, so his threat level has dropped. So Ty and Jed meet with Austin and Bray because Ty and Jed think Bray has it. Austin and Bray think Ty have it. And there's this weird thing of like each side thinking the other is playing them with the conversation. But in reality, nobody in this room is the HOH, and this conversation means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of the game. But it was still a pretty funny moment. So, Austin and Bray are basically one person now. Like, they do everything together, and this is the detriment of Austin and Bray's game. And I'll talk about it a little more in the spoiler talk. But basically, they don't, at least Austin, Bray does have social skills. When he's not with Austin, he does well. It's when he's with Austin that she takes him away from the other social things happening, and he becomes a target because of that. Austin, instead of hanging out with Bray 24/7, needs to be playing the game. Needs to be talking to people. Needs to be shaking. Needs to be moving. And she's not. A lot of people online are like, oh, well, that's just who she is. She doesn't like you. She's not going to talk to you. And, she can't fake it. She doesn't have the ability to fake it. Then why are you playing Big Brother? If you don't want to talk to people you don't like, that's totally fine. If you want to stay within your social circle, that's totally fine. Why are you playing a social game? If that's the case. If you really can't even bear to have a conversation to save your ass, then why are you in this game at all? She came in talking about how she wanted to play this game. I guess she assumed she'd be in the popular Pretty People Alliance and her social status, and she'd be best friends with certain people, and then this game would be easy. But that's not how it turned out, and I'm glad it didn't turn out that way, because you don't deserve to be here if you don't want to play the fucking game. It's so frustrating. There are so many people that would love to be on this show and care about this show and want to play this game and want to do this game justice and want to fight their ass off, Julie and Josh included, who fought to stay and left anyway. And instead, you're just going to sit here and act like it doesn't fucking matter just because you can't do what you want to do with Kyle and fucking Braden. Get the fuck out of the house then. It's frustrating as hell. And we'll get to another thing we'll talk about in the feeds, which is Vic's trying to pin it on Beth. She's trying to say, like, everything's Beth's fault, and, like, nobody has any of it. And she does contemplate Jed and Ty, but she was never going to put Jed and Ty up. Like, this is all for the cameras, right? Vic's not going to turn against the boys, okay? Like I said, she took out LT to get to these boys. She going to keep coming at with these boys as long as they're willing to have her. And then Vic's mad because Austin, basically, since she was HOH last time, Austin hasn't felt the need to have any social interactions with her. And I was like, yeah, Vic, that's because Austin, if you're not Braden or Kyle, Austin doesn't care, because that's the kind of person Austin is. So, unlike the other people are going to give her credit for being who she is, I'm just going to give her a giant fucking kick out that door, because that kind of person doesn't have any business in this house. But again, great time to be Ro. All this attention's on other people. No one's talking Ro. And Vic's really trying to hate Austin, because Vic does like to try to act like it's the person who's going home's or her target's fault that they're being targeted. And while I do agree that a lot of Austin's positioning in the game is her own fault, She hasn't really done anything personally to Vic. I don't think Austin's a bad person. I just think she's very snarky. I think she's very stuck up. And that she thinks, like, if I don't like you, you're not worth anyone's time. Or, clearly I should be in the popular people's alliance, and I'm not. So whatever, this game isn't worth it. I think she has a lot to learn about the world. But I don't think she's a bad person. She's just immature. But Vic has this thing where she's just like, oh, she's a shitty person. I hate her. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't say that. And then Vic picked Bray, Austin, Keith, and herself to be have-nots. Which I'm like, Vic, you got the have-not pass. Of course, people are going to assume that the HOH would make themselves a have-not to try to lead the scent off of them. But also, if you then take yourself off with the slot pass, people are going to be like, what was this whole thing about then, right? Because that was her goal. She gets the slot pass. She makes a big deal like, oh, I can't believe this person would put me on slop. Oh my God, 2 times, guys? Really? They haven't even been on slot. That's terrible. And then she storms up to her room and then she smiles at the cameras like, oh, I'm playing this so well. And I'm like, no, everyone's just like, what the fuck was that about? The only reason someone would act like it is that they're the invisible HOH. So, Vic, again, she thinks she's doing so well, and she is for television, not for her game. And Vic should be Keith's number 1 right now, but both of them would rather be with Thruple than each other, and that's not great. But Vic and Keith are together, laughing. Keith's feeding her ego like, you're going to be the best person to ever play this game. You're going to be remembered as like the most iconic Big Brother Canada player ever. I'm like, Keith, this is a great idea to feed her ego. I totally agree with that. Like, especially someone like Vic, who can change their mind on a drop of a dime. Keep her happy. Get it. Totally get it. But I hope you don't truly, genuinely believe that. Because that couldn't be farther from the truth. She's going to be a great character. But there's a lot of great characters that are not remembered for their gameplay. No one's talking about Sabrina from Big Brother Canada 2's gameplay. They're talking about the you want good effing TV line, right? So, not everyone's remembered for strategy. And that's okay. Because what I could say to an Austin is if you're not going to play the game, be good TV. But you're neither. You're not interesting, and you're not playing well. So what are you doing here? So the throuple, they always, teleport near each other. Because, everyone's in the ball pit, and, first, Jed shows up. And then, Ty appears behind him, and then Beth appears behind them. And it's these pairs in his house. It's one of them will walk away, and the other one's like, what? Hey, where's the other person? I've got to, what? Hey, where are you, other person? No, it's capable of just hanging out with someone else for a while. But yeah, the whole idea of trying to blame the throuple because they weren't have-nots didn't work because everyone's like, well, they know that would make them a target, so they clearly wouldn't do that. So the throuple looks great at the end of this week because of this. So Vic is just the opposite is happening of what she wants to happen. So they all are leaning toward Vic being the invisible HOH, but it's not again, the episode would have you believe, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But yeah, no, they know. They know. So the invisible HOH nominates Austin and Bray. And we got the short list back, and I wasn't happy about that, but I hope it's just for this segment. But the Bossy Glossies are dead. Vic took the shot. Okay, Austin or Bray are up, and they're pissed. But, it's their fault. They've clearly made themselves this pair target. They only talk to each other, pretty much. What do you expect to happen? Maybe if you spread your wings socially a little bit more, you wouldn't be in this situation at all. So that ends our coverage on the episode. If you don't want any talks of the feeds or spoilers, go ahead and hop out right now. I'll see you next time. But for those of you who are going to stay, let's get ready, set, and go. All right, here we go, guys. So everyone knows that Vic's the HOH. She tried to pin it on Beth and Ro. Did not work. No one bought it. She really tried to make Beth a target because, Beth's the only other one closer to the guys than she is. It didn't work. It didn't go down that way. So everyone pretty much knows Vic's the HOH. Austin and Bray wanted Ro to win the POV for them. And they said for them, take us off the block. As if they think that they're nominated as like one entity. That's not how it works. Only one of you is going home. If both of you could go home, I'd probably be okay with that. But I'm curious to see how Bray would play without Austin. It's Austin I really don't want to see stay, right? So they play the veto, and Rohan wins the the power of veto, and doesn't use it, which I was shook. I guess because he's trying to make this relationship with the throuple is why he didn't use it, and just figured that, hey, like, I can let Austin and Braden go. Like, I'm sorry, Kyle, but like, this is not good for my game. But like, you could have. I get it. Like, one of them is still on the block and probably going to be the one that goes home. But you could save face with them now. Like, I don't think anyone is really like going to blame Ro for using it per se, right? Like, if he saved Austin, is probably what Austin assumed he would do because of the Kyle connection. But I'm glad he didn't, because I want Austin to go home. But it was a weird move. But like, I get it. But he was just very cold as usual when he did it. And that's not great, although, Austin, it's a bit of road medicine because she's always cold with everybody else. So Austin and Bray are going to be on the block come eviction day, and it looks like Austin, consensus-wise, is going to be the one who goes home. She's pissed, but, at least you don't have to sit in the jury. Granted, you won't be in jury with Bray if he leaves soon, but, I don't think he'll go to, like, Final 5 at this point. You can go home and just live your best life away from the Big Brother house. You don't really need to be a part of the jury. It's fine. And I know I've been a little harsh on Austin in this episode. It's just, I expected so much more from her coming into this game than I got. I don't know why I did. I just did. Also, Tina and Tara have been working hard at Keith to try to get him to nominate, to go after Ty and Jed. Like, the time has come. We're in jury now. We need to take a shot at the throuple. And he's like, well, isn't it too early? I'm like, Keith, no, it's not too early. We started out with 14. We're going to be down to 9. Now's a great time. 3 out of 9? That's a third of the house. We need to take them out before that number gets bigger. Tina and Tara are completely correct, and as much as Tara mishandles a lot of situations, she does have good ideas. Yes, it's time. And he's like, well, can we just wait till like a power comes into play or a double eviction? And they're like, it could be too late. And I'm like, it probably would be too late by then. Keith, I know you're loyal to the soil, but sometimes the soil it's too sour. You can't grow anything there. You got to spread your seeds somewhere else if you want to thrive and survive. How about that? I get it. The soil, it was good for a while, but the soil never really cared about you. It only cared about your neighbors. in Ty, Jed, and Beth. You need to do what's good for Kiefer if Kiefer wants to win Big Brother Canada. And Vic, too. Vic's like, man, I'm going to work with Kiefer. And she talks to Kiefer, and then she goes and makes a deal with Ty, Jed, and Beth. Why does everyone want to be the fourth wheel with the throuple? They're only going to... You're clearly the bottom of that. If Keith and Vic team up with Tara and Tina, at 4, it's a battle of the pairs, right? In this situation, it's 3 people against 1 person. It shouldn't even be a conversation we have to have. But nevertheless, here the fuck we are having this conversation. It's ridiculous. I don't understand it. So that's been frustrating. Rose started to make leeway with Thruple. And Beth even confided in him that she feels like the guys, yes, I like the guys, but I may have to make a move against them because they're going to take each other over me. And Rose should have just taken this information, sat with it, continued to socialize with the Thruple, and then later start maybe maneuvering that information with Beth. But no, literally, right after she says it, he's like, well, they told me that they were never, that they would definitely cut you. So you should definitely think about taking the guys out. And so Beth then emotionally is like, do they even care about me? And she's distraught. And it's like, Ro, yes, you're right. That's a potential conversation to have in the future. Not 3 seconds after she's told you this information. Let things... Ro is such a game bot sometimes that it's mechanically, yes, that would be the next move. But it's not the next move, immediately. You gotta let it sit. Be opportunistic with your... It's the same thing with Kyle apologizing to Vic and Ro whispering in her ear simultaneously. It doesn't... People don't process things like that. Especially a lot of people in this house are extremely emotional players. You need to have good timing when you're trying to bring up these ideas. And instead, Ro just immediately spits it out. It's almost like he's going to forget it if he doesn't get it out immediately. And so the opposite happens. Now Beth doesn't trust Ro, and Ro's probably going to go home if they win HOH because they don't trust him because they've been aligned with him for 4 seconds and he's already tried to break them apart. It's crazy. People in this house don't think. They just do things. It blows my mind sometimes, the things that these people do. The only people that really seem to be self-interested are the Thruple and Tina and Tara. So 5 people out of currently a house of 10. That's half are actually interested in advancing the game. Crazy shit. So let's get into our conversation here about Big Brother Canada 9. Stay tuned for the Wednesday recap, where I'm going to do the recap of the episode and best game, worst game. And then the Thursday recap coming up later this week, where I'm going to talk about the Thursday episode and maybe my thoughts heading into the next week. So again, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Stay safe, and most importantly, guys, stay nerdy.